angry street preachers claiming African Americans are the true... You've probably seen those angry street preachers claiming African Americans are the true Israelites, pointing to Deuteronomy 28:68 as their proof. Let's set the record straight. That verse talks about returning to Egypt by ships. After Jerusalem fell in 70 AD, many Jews were literally shipped off to Egypt and sold as slaves. This directly fulfills the prophecy in its historical context. But here's the thing, the verse also says, but no one will buy you. During the transatlantic slave trade, enslaved Africans were in high demand. They were bought and sold extensively. This fact doesn't line up with the prophecy at all. Plus, Deuteronomy 28 lists numerous curses for disobedience. Cherry-picking one verse while ignoring the rest of Deuteronomy 28 is a surefire way to misinterpret the text. So, while these groups accuse others of being fake Jews, they're really just cosplaying as Jews themselves. Plus, according to the Apostle Paul, under the New Covenant, a true Jew is one who is inwardly a Jew, whose circumcision is by the Spirit. You've probably seen those angry street preachers claiming African Americans are the true Israelites, pointing to Deuteronomy 28:68 as their proof. Let's set the record straight. That verse talks about returning to Egypt by ships. After Jerusalem fell in 70 AD, many Jews were literally shipped off to Egypt.
Okay, did you hear what he said right there? That verse literally has to do with returning to Egypt by ships. He even says so. But then in the same breath, he contradicts himself and says that after he just said that they were literally going to be in ships, he says that they were literally shipped back into Egypt. You cannot be shipped from Israel to Egypt on a ship. There's no water. You could walk there. That is the first clue that these guys are incorrect in telling and teaching false doctrine. And you know, we know they're doing it on purpose. But let's let this guy dig a hole real quick so I can finish this up. I actually put this class up this morning. I had to take it down. Why? Because I forgot to put up the fair use. If you don't have the fair use copyright and you don't mention it, all of a sudden they're going to take your class down. But what they've really been doing to me, you know who, has been taking all of my everything and making my whole channel private and then hiding all of my videos. I don't even really have a following like that to be doing all that to me. But let's let this guy finish digging his hole real quick, because I had to, like I said, I had to re-put this back up again for the fair use copyright.
And sold as slaves. This directly fulfills the prophecy in its historical context. But here's the thing, the verse also says, but no one will buy you. During the transatlantic slave trade, enslaved Africans were in high demand. They were bought and sold extensively.
Bought and sold extensively. So you have to understand that we were bought and sold extensively. But it says, but no one will buy you. So we're going to take care of that. We're actually going to fulfill that statement. What I mean by that, we're going to interpret it correctly.
This fact doesn't line up with the prophecy at all. Plus, Deuteronomy 28 lists numerous...
There's where we want to stop right there. Deuteronomy 28 lists numerous what?
Curses for disobedience.
Okay, so he's saying that we're cherry picking.
Cherry-picking one verse while ignoring the rest of Deuteronomy 28 is a surefire way to misinterpret the text. So,
all right, you heard him. So he said that misinterpreting Deuteronomy 28 and cherry-picking just one verse, in other words, saying that none of the other verses pertain to us as Israelites suffering curses, that it's false. So what we're going to do right now is go back to that list of things that he said that we're cherry picking and those things don't pertain to us. Let's get it. All right, let's get that list. So first of all, I'm going to do it by the list. And we'll break Deuteronomy 28 and 68 down also, but according to this guy's list, okay? And let's start with disease. All right, everybody. Let's just go to the book of Deuteronomy. We're gonna do all of this. We're gonna have to do it all from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 because he said that we're cherry picking chapter 28. So if we're going to go into disease, we need to start at verse Deuteronomy 28 and 58. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear the glorious and fearful name, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance, and of sore sickness, and of long continuance. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of. And they shall cleave unto thee. Also every sickness and every plague, which is not written in the book of the law, of this law, them will Yahweh bring upon thee, until thou be destroyed. Excuse me. So let's go back to 60 again. And what does it say in 60? Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases. So you can mark diseases off the list. Because, yeah, if you want to actually go into it, I don't remember anybody else having a nation of people do a Tuskegee experiment against them other than the so-called black people. And I don't remember any other nation getting fed poisonous food and meat and given blankets with smallpox, except for the native nation. So right there, dead giveaway, diseases. You did it to us. You've been doing it to us. And now you systematically, our food in this country is illegal in other countries because the food gives us diseases. And that's why in 61 it says, also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of the law, them will Yahweh bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. But when you go by the barcodes, when it comes down to it, we get the actual worst of the worst. So when you go to the grocery store, I was listening to a guy speaking. Now, honestly, it was many years ago. He was in IUIC. He's actually one of the leaders. And he said, I quit working at the grocery store warehouse because I was watching the barcodes and all of the worst food was going to my neighborhood. And that is the food that will get you sick with diseases and plagues and every plague which is not written in the book of this law. So now we've got diseases. Let's go to drought. Let's see if drought's in here. Because I know that we had, and it is kind of crazy because when it comes down to a so-called black person trying to farm, they try to stop us from farming. I've even heard of the farms being burned down when they're doing better than the white farmers. So let's get it. Let's see if that's in Deuteronomy chapter 28. And let's go to verse 24. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. So he's saying that he's going to ruin our land so we can't have food. So when you go up to verse 18, it says, cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land. Why? Because in 24, you're not going to have any rain, any water, powder and dust. Plus, like I said, even if you were doing good, they're going to burn your land down. And I've seen it recently in 2025. Recently, okay? So, cursed will be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. You can't do anything if you don't have water to feed the land, which will feed the animals, which feeds you. Okay, so, let's remove drought. Defeat. You want to get into defeat? Let me get it for you. We're gonna get a couple. We're gonna get a couple for defeat. So Deuteronomy 28 and 23. This is the defeat. This is how we were defeated. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thy feet shall be iron. That is talking about right now in this day and age. That is literally what a prison is built out of. You are literally talking about an ancient prison cell. Do you understand that? We're in that right now. So how are we defeated? Because they put us in prisons. But let's go, but wait. There's more, because I told you let's get a couple. So hold on. Let's go to verse 47. And this is the reason, because I want to get the reason why all these things are actually happening to us, because we chose not to follow instructions, right? So let's get 47. Like I said, we're staying in Deuteronomy for this whole portion of the class. So Deuteronomy 28:47, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Therefore, thou shalt serve thine enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee. Who is in charge of this place? Black people or so-called white people. Who was in charge of slavery? Black people or so-called white people. Who benefits from slavery today? Black people or the so-called descendants of the people that put us in slavery? Well, that has nothing to do with you. Had nothing to do with slavery. Slavery had nothing to do with you. You just did you that. Okay, you know what? We're going to go away from Deuteronomy really quick because it's true. I'm going to read it all the way through, but then I'm going to get a precept real quick, because it says, thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in a want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he hath destroyed thee. There's our defeat. But I have to show you something, because a lot of people will say that has nothing to do with us, and slavery this, slavery that, but they don't want to bring out the truth. So I'm going to have to come and be just like my brothers that I learned from and bring out this 100% truth. So let's go to Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 21. Prepare slaughter for the children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. So guess what? It says, prepare slaughter for the children, for the iniquity of their fathers. So you guys can't actually say, that has nothing to do with you or me. Well, actually it does. And you guys are going to have to pay, because like I said, in our defeat, you guys are living off of our backs, and that takes us right into loss of property. Loss of property. And let me show you let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Now we're going to go down and check the next one off the list. It's loss of property.
28 lists numerous
Okay, loss of property. So there it is. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Because see what they're doing is taking up all the land. And that goes, and he shall lend unto thee, and thou shalt not lend to him, and he shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. You see how that works? They're gonna be above us. They're gonna be on top of us. They're gonna start lending to us, and we're not gonna own anything. And that goes right back into where I was telling you in verse 48, because it tells you that you are going to serve your enemy in hunger and in thirst and nakedness and in want of all things. So when he puts that yoke of iron upon your neck, that's also that's also a loss of property because they're going to take everything from you. In fact, let's go over I want to also say, because I keep telling you guys the word black, African American, Hebrew Israelism. That also, which isn't on this list, but that is called a proverb and a byword. Let's get it. Deuteronomy 28:37. And it shall come to pass, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations, whether Yahweh shall lead thee. So that proverb and that byword is them making names up for us and slandering us, saying things, wicked things about us that aren't true. Now, back to the loss of property. Verse 33. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always. So you tell me how we're not losing everything. Oh, it says taking away family. Let's go to verse 32. Deuteronomy 28:32. And so the loss of the land, before I go to verse 32, because I'm getting excited again, the fruit of thy land, all thy labors, but I also want to mention something else. Verse 31, thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from thy face, and thou shalt not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies. Loss of property, okay? That's the best one, actually. Salakia, I didn't bring that one out first. And thou shalt have none to rescue them. So you guys tell me, who took all the buffalo from the native nation and killed them in front of them? There's multiple pictures of guys standing on mountains, and the reason why is so that we were not able to eat them. They were trying to starve us out. So there's our loss of property. Plus, we lost all the land in that too. Don't forget. This whole land belonged to us. Now there's little specks, little red dots in various places around America where they're reservations. So these little tiny specks are reservations, which used to be the entire country. So you tell me if we lost land. So you try to say that we don't line up to all the prophecies, and we haven't even gotten to Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Because I'm going to shut everybody down with that. So let's go to family taken away now. Deuteronomy 28:32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. All the way back at the transatlantic slave trade, they were taking our sons and daughters. All the way back at the transatlantic slave trade, they were taking our sons and our daughters. And they were putting them where? Who knows? Like it says, in this verse, it says, your eyes shall look and long for them all the day, but there shall be no power in your hand to go after them, to find them, to investigate what happened to them. And so we know what happened to those sons and daughters. So let's go over to verse 41. Let's confirm that what happened to the sons, because I said we know what happened, so that means the scriptures are going to tell us right now. So Deuteronomy 28:41. Thou shalt begot sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. Do you know what happened to them now? Because when you go into let's say like this, ICE, all the people that are being taken are sons and daughters. Those are all the sons and daughters. All of those people have parents. And so it's not just little ones, but if you want to get all the way down and dirty, going back to verse 32, at 3 years old, they would take the kids off of the mother from the slave camp so they couldn't be together. so they couldn't rise up and join forces as they got older. They kept everybody scattered apart, so everybody was always disoriented. And so, yeah, they took our kids and we were longing for them all the day with no power to go get them back. In verse 41, it says we're going into captivity. So back to ICE. Now we're back up to modern day. Okay, I want to tell you guys a neat story. So the prisons were getting ready to sue the American government because there was such a low number of inmates in the prisons. Do you understand what I'm saying? They were promised a certain amount of prisoners, and since they weren't getting that, they're ready to sue. So all of a sudden, Trump does an executive order for ICE. Well, we're getting all of these criminals. Now anybody that is brown is a criminal. They're packing the prisons tight. The prison owners are happy. Now here's the kicker. Well, the prisoners are being sent out in work camps. If you want to make one phone call, it costs $5. They pay the prisoners $1 a day. You shall not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. So that's just one of the many, many horrible things they're doing to us. But so now you got $1 a day, and you want to make that phone call. The phone call's $5. So now you got a choice. You can either get food for the week, which isn't going to be much with that $1 for each day, or you can make the one phone call to try and tell your family to come and save you. Family taken away. You guys got to be fucking joking if you really believe this shit that you're putting up. You got to be literally the most nationalized apologist out there. And I'm not trying to talk shit, because maybe you don't really know. Maybe you were just taught this way, but these are like a list of lies against us. So we're going to finish this off, though. Let's go to exile. In fact, let's use their Bible to start it off with, because he said that, let's get it in the translation that he's actually using. So Deuteronomy 28:68, exile, okay? To be taken out of your land. And that's what happened to us. So when you get put into slavery, you get taken from your land, put on ships, and taken to another land. The only people that happened to was the people in the transatlantic slave trade. Let's prove it. So first of all, they used the New International Version. This version of the Bible was created in between 1978 and 1982. And then all the other new creations were all the way up to 2000. So that's when all of these new Bibles came out. It's in between 78 and 2000. But the New International Version is like a 1978 version. I was born in 1973. I was born before this version of the Bible came out that you guys are swearing by right now. Just letting you know. Your new Bible is absolutely wrong. And I'm going to read this verse. And I'm just going to remind you before I do. In the book of Revelation, chapter 22, 18, and 19, if you take away from the word, or if you add to the words of the book of this law, Most High is going to add unto the plagues that are written in this book.
You've probably seen.
So, exile. We were on the last one anyway. I started it over, my bad. Exile. So, Deuteronomy 28:68. We've already completed the whole list, so it doesn't need to be up there any longer anyway. So, New International Version, Deuteronomy 28:68. The Lord will send you back in ships to Egypt on a journey, I say to you, you should never make again. There you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. That sounds stupid. I have never heard something sound so stupid in my life. I'm not trying to be rude, but that just sounds stupid. What people do you know on earth that offered themselves as slaves to anybody? And then the person said, no, I don't want any slaves. No, you saw clearly in here that they were selling out slaves. In fact, while it's up, we're at Deuteronomy 28:68. Let's get it.
Those angry street preachers claiming African Americans are the true Israelites, pointing to Deuteronomy 28:68 as their proof. Let's set the record straight. That verse talks about returning to Egypt by ships. After Jerusalem fell in 70 AD, many Jews were literally shipped off to Egypt and sold as slaves.
Hold on now. Has anybody ever seen a map? Because you cannot be. You're not going in a ship. You're not going in a ship from Israel to Egypt. You're going to walk there, drive there. I mean, take a camel. But really, there's no giant body of water to cross to get there. That just doesn't make sense. In fact, they're really close to each other. So that's a lie. In fact, it says, I'm gonna have to read it in the King James Version now, because it says, the Lord will take you back in Egypt by ships, by the route, so you'll never see it, that you would never see again. So, and this is the King James Version real quick. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So let's let this guy finish, and then I'm going to actually just destroy him the rest of the way.
This directly fulfills the prophecy in its historical context. But here's the thing, the verse also says, but no one will buy you. During the transatlantic slave trade, enslaved Africans were in high demand. They were bought and sold extensively.
Remember that. He said, we were bought and sold extensively. Keep going.
This fact doesn't line up with the prophecy at all. Plus, Deuteronomy 20...
He said it doesn't line up with the prophecy at all. So, let's go. Now, we've read the King James Version. No man will buy you. So, I want to explain what buy you meant. So, to buy somebody means that in the transatlantic slave trade, we had a thing called the Freeman Papers. So let me see if I can get a picture of the Freeman Papers up on my tablet, and I'll share it with you right now. A picture of the Freeman Papers in the 1800s from slavery. Ooh, found them. Found them. So when it says no man shall buy you, no man was going to give you your freedom. These papers right here in the transatlantic slave trade, so you could prove that you were a documented free man and not a slave. So for all of you dummies out there that didn't know that, when it says no man will buy you, this is what it's talking about. Prophecy fulfilled, because we're still here stuck under their bullshit. But it gets even way better than that, guys. Don't think I'm just going to stop there with a little piece of paper. Oh, no. We're going to go to the Wycliffe Bible, because actually, when you go to where it says no man will buy you, that goes back to the 1500s in the Cloverdale Bible. And the Cloverdale Bible, I would say, is where that change was originally made. So if you want to get the correct English translation, you're going to have to go to the Wycliffe Bible, which predates all these Bibles by hundreds of years. The Wycliffe Bible is like from the 1300s. Let's get into that Bible, and let's see what it says in the Wycliffe Bible. Deuteronomy 28:68. The Lord shall lead thee again by ships into Egypt, by the way whereof he said to thee, thou shouldest no more see it. There thou shalt be sold to thine enemies, into servants and handmaids, and none shall be that shall deliver you. So none will deliver you. Like the Freeman Papers, nobody's going to set you free. Deliver us from our sins, Lord. What does that mean? What does it mean to be delivered from your sins? It means to be removed from your sins. So no man's going to remove you from your slavery. You guys got to stop playing these semantics. The Most High is coming soon. He's sending his son, Yahushai, and Yahushai is going to destroy you. I just told you in Revelation 22, 18, and 19, you guys are adding and taking away from the Bible all at the same time. But one more quick thing. Let's let this, so the word Egypt means slavery. Just for you guys that don't know, if you're like, this ain't saying Egypt though, you're going into Egypt. So let me show you. The word Egypt actually represents being a slave. So when it says that you're going back into Egypt on ships, if you go to the book of Exodus, chapter 20, starting from the top, it's verse 1. It says, and Yahweh spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahweh thy God, which hath brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Egypt in the Bible is considered house of bondage, slavery. It's a Roman Greek word. It is not an ancient Israelite word. It's not a Hebrew word. It's a Roman Greek word. The place that you guys call Egypt is called Mezarim. Look it up. Mezarim is where what Europeans call Egypt. So let's let this guy finish, because he was getting into Paul's writings too. So let's let him finish.
28 lists numerous curses for disobedience. Cherry-picking one verse while ignoring the rest of Deuteronomy 28 is a surefire way to misinterpret the text. So while these groups accuse others of being fake Jews, they're really just cosplaying as Jews themselves. Plus, according to the Apostle Paul, under the New Covenant, a true Jew is one who is inwardly a Jew, whose circumcision is by the... You've probably seen...
Okay. He tried to cut that off short, but we caught it. A true Jew is one... Let's go to the book of Romans real quick. Let's get that. We don't want to leave that out. Book of Romans, chapter 2. We're going to eat him alive on this. Because when it talks about being a Jew inwardly, it's actually talking to the Israelites about how they act in their day-to-day life. Okay? So let me show you let me show you. So let's start at verse 25. You know what? No, let's start at verse 24, because this is you guys right here. You see how it says Yahushua right there? Verse 24. The name of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written. You guys are blaspheming the name directly. You make fun of it. Look at this. Look at this picture you guys are putting up. You purposely try to gaslight the truth. So you blaspheme among the Gentiles the name, and the name of Yahweh is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written. For circumcision verily profiteth if you keep the law. Circumcision profiteth if you keep the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcision. So the circumcision is spiritual, but it's telling the Israelites it's not about being physically circumcised and showing, and not only being physically circumcised, but showing the world, like on your outward surface, that you're the top of Israel. So therefore, so it profiteth if you keep the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, that circumcision is made uncircumcision. So even if you physically circumcise yourself, you're really considered uncircumcised inwardly, because you're not following the instructions. Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? So in other words, these people that are actually following the law, or they come back to the law because they're grafted in again, Not just grafted in. Remember, you got to be grafted in again, because you can't take an orange and graft it into an apple tree. It won't work. You have to be grafted back into the tree that you were taken away from. Okay? So, let's get back into it. Verse 27. And shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge thee, who by the letter and circumcision dost transgress the law? Damn. So the uncircumcision by nature, if it fulfill the law. So these people that you're saying, that are traditionally considered not to be the Jews, but are actually Hellenized, and naturally they're keeping the laws by letter, and circumcision does, and this is by who the letter and circumcision does transgress the law. So the uncircumcision, the people that are coming back to this truth, that follow the instructions, and they're uncircumcision by nature, which means that they never knew the law, but they're still going to fall right into place when they hear the truth. And if it fulfill the law, judge thee. So anyway, before I go too deep into that, it's telling you that when you guys think that all nations are saved, it's telling you that these Jews are trying to show everybody outwardly how great they are, but inwardly they're wicked. So let's read 28. And that's what it really comes down to. These other people are fulfilling the law, but these wicked people are on the surface looking like they fulfill the law, but inwardly they're just wicked, and behind closed doors, no, they're not fulfilling the law. So verse 28. For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly. So the actual back then, the physical circumcision, the garments. In fact, we need to get that too, because it goes into those into the garments too. So we're gonna get that. So like I said, for he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision, which is outwardly in the flesh. So I gotta show you that real quick, everybody. Let's go to Matthew. I think it's in chapter 23. And there it is. So it said to be, let me read it again. Back to Romans. It said, for he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision, which is outward in the flesh, but he is a Jew, which is one inwardly. So, and I'm going to read the rest in a second, but I just want to show you, this is what it's talking about, being outwardly the Jew, but not actually inwardly following the instructions with righteousness and joyfulness of heart. So let's get Matthew chapter 23, starting at verse 5. But all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make they make broad their phylacteries, and enlarge the borders of their garments, and love the uppermost rooms at feasts, and the chief seats in the synagogue, and greetings in the markets, and to be called of men Rabboni, Rabboni, or Rabbi, Rabbi, which means master. So they're being a Jew outwardly. The phylactery, so in other words, they're putting on the extra great garments. They're trying to be like the top guy. When we go to the festivals, they want the best seats in the house. When they go to when they go to the marketplace, they want everybody to call them master. This is the person being a Jew outwardly, but inwardly they're self-righteous. They're self worship. They're doomed, honestly, because they've turned their back on the Most High to give them self glory. And what does it say? Uh, um, 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 where is it? Let's go to, I think it's in Matthew chapter, I want to say it's in 6. So they do all this stuff to be seen of men. When you go to Matthew chapter 6, and verse 2, therefore when thou doest thy alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee as the hypocrites do in the synagogues. See how I was showing you like how they want to be the top guy and everything. Those are the hypocrites. Outwardly, they show you that they're the number one guy, but inwardly they're wicked. And in the streets, they may have glory of men. They want to be greeted as the master. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. Their reward is to be seen of men. Okay, so now that we understand that being a Jew outwardly was the Israelites that were wicked, but posing as these great men of Israel, just like the camps actually do today. There are a lot of wicked camps. And there's a lot of camps that have the 100% truth. So, and there's not a bunch of different, there's a lot of camps. There's only one truth. So the camps that are in that 100% truth are bringing out that same one truth. And that's all there is to it.
Seen those angry.
So, going back into it. Verse 29. He's not one that's a Jew outwardly, verse 29 though, but he is a Jew which is one inwardly. And the circumcision is that of the heart in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of man, but of Yahweh. So to be a Jew inwardly is to not give these guys that are out in the streets wanting you to call them master, but to keep yourself grounded in the truth, and to praise the Most High. Inwardly, to have joyfulness and gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Following his instructions is a great, it's a great privilege to be chosen to follow the instructions, to be chosen to understand the truth. This is a great privilege. These laws are not grievous. In fact, the laws protect you. They protect you. And these guys are out gaslighting the truth. Look at how they make fun of us, and they're gonna pay for that. You got to remember, I'm looking for it right now. I have a precept I forgot what I was gonna say now. This is what I wanted to say right here. Romans 9:26. I found it in the King James Version. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it is said unto them, you are not my people, there they shall be called the children of the living God. So, we're the children of Yahweh. We are those children. Why do you think they're gaslighting the truth so hard? Why aren't they doing this to anybody else? Let's get another one real quick. I'm not done yet. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 2. Let's start at verse 9. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praise of him who hath called you out of darkness into this marvelous light. Because remember, in the transatlantic slave trade, remember that we wore a rod of iron upon our necks until we were destroyed. So we don't know who we were, so we were in darkness to who we were, which in times past were not a people, but now are the people of Yahweh, which had not obtained mercy, but now have attained mercy. I got to get two precepts. First, we're going to go to Revelation. I'm going to pull them up right now, and then we're going to go to Isaiah. So let's get Revelation real quick. 11, and then I'm going to also get Isaiah up real quick too, just so I don't forget it while I got it. All right. So it says we were in darkness, right? Correct? So let's go to Revelation 11 and 11 and 8. And this also will confirm us going back into Egypt on ships also. So when you go to Revelation 11 and 8, it says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which is spiritually, you it was fulfilled in 70 AD, and they were literally is what you said, shipped back into Egypt. But in scripture, which you guys don't know, because you never read the Bible clearly, it says, and their bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which was spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. Guess what so-called America is? Spiritual Sodom and Egypt. Where does Egypt mean? Slavery. What is Sodom? The place, you know what sodomy is, so don't even play. This is also called secret Babylon, because why? Your culture is Babylonian. All you stupid Christians are literally Babylonians. You don't even know it. You're Babylonian sodomites that practice Egypt, and that means you practice slavery. So anyway, keep reading. That's what we really need to do, because now that we know that we were in this place spiritually that was called Egypt, I said we were in darkness though, because we were in slavery, because they put us a yoke of iron upon our neck until we were destroyed. The nation that came against us that was swift like an eagle. Back to the scripture, verse 9. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. 350 years of hardcore bondage slavery. You knocked the fucking culture out of us, the memory of who we are out of us, and would never tell us who we were again. You got that? That's why it says to put a dead body in a grave means to put it to rest. So to put these lies to rest means you would have to tell the truth. Moving on, and verse 10, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts to one another, because these two prophets tormented them which dwelt on the earth. What did we just finish celebrating yesterday? What was yesterday? Oh yeah, that's right, Christmas. What does the word Christmas even mean? It means death of Christ. Look it up. So when you say Merry Christmas, you're saying be joyful at the death of Christ. So they make merry and shall exchange gifts. During the transatlantic slave trade, we definitely were given to our neighbors as slaves. Not only sex slaves, but all different types of slavery. In-house niggas, field niggas, we got farm niggas, we got build niggas. You know what I'm saying? So we've got literally everybody out there. Remember, all the inventions are created by us. We're giving away great men this year. And Black Friday before Christmas was when they would take their best slaves to the market and give a great price on them. Look it up. So they made merry, and they shall send gifts to one another. And it was talking the two prophets. When it says the two prophets, it's talking about the northern and southern kingdom. That split goes all the way back to Rehoboam. So let's go ahead and keep reading, because it says that we were in darkness and now we're going to be in the marvelous light. Verse 11, after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from Yahweh entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. So right now, we are right here and right now. We have risen back on our feet, and great fear has fallen upon our enemies because they can see that we're waking up to the truth. So what do? They gaslight us with all this bullshit. Now I said I was going to bring out one more thing because I wanted to prove that the Most High chose Israel. Remember, it tells you that you were once not a people, but now you're my people, right? So we got to go. You were where was it? Romans 9:26. Let's read it one more time, then we're going to go to Isaiah, and then we're going to shut it down. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people, there they shall be called the children of the living God. Right? Okay, that's beautiful. So I want to go ahead and go back to the precept on that, which was 2 Peter's. And I know I'm being redundant, but I have to. Wait, I think it was, I'm sorry, 1 Peter, Salakia. Now, let's read it again. 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 9. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praise of him who hath called you out of darkness into this marvelous light. And then I showed you in Revelation that we were in hardcore bondage slavery for 350 years. And then when they put the yoke of iron upon our neck, that we didn't know who we were. That is the darkness. Now, I got to get back to the marvelous light, and that's what we're trying to get to. So we're going to take you out of the darkness into this marvelous light, which in times past we're not a people. So in the times past we weren't a people, but are now the people of Yahweh, which had not obtained mercy, but now have attained mercy. Now let's prove that that's talking about us. Let me prove it one last time. I'm going to shut it down. And I told you, I already pulled it up. Isaiah chapter 14, starting at the top. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel. And you know that's very important because we're the slaves right now. We went into the slavery. We're still slaves unto this day until he comes and saves us. Now let's prove it. Let's start over. Isaiah 14 and 1. For Yahweh will have mercy on Yaakov and yet to choose Yasharallah. Okay? And set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Yaakov. All right? Woo-wee. So he's going to have mercy on Jacob and yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. So watch this, though, because we were taken out of our land, and we're not there to this day. So those people that are there couldn't possibly be the Israelites because they're already in the land. They're imposters. Verse 2, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh for servants and handmaids. This is why everybody's gaslighting the truth, because you're about to become servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were. We have never taken anybody captive yet. So this prophecy hasn't been fulfilled. So that's why they're gaslighting the truth so hard right now on the internet. Because it says, and ye shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. We know what's going on here, people. We're going to rule over our oppressors. We're going to take you guys down. You guys are never going to rise back up again. And we're always going to be in rulership after he comes and saves us. That's why you're trying to tell us, oh, no, you're not those people. Because you're trying to take us down with you. It's not going to happen, though. One more verse, and this is what I'm going to close out with. For all of you Edomites and other nations, this is for you. This is Obadiah 1 and 15. For the day of Yahweh is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. That's why you guys are gaslighting, because everything you did to us is coming right back to your own head. And if you got eyes to see, ears to hear, I just hope you got something out of this message. Shalom.